The Devil's Soul, Book 1, Chapter 4, Section 8, Lancaster, 1984. Susan stood at the sink peeling a carrot, movements quick and efficient. The radio in the corner of the kitchen hummed. She had spent the last few days deep in a medical journal, reading about breakthroughs in various fields. It seemed to fascinate seeing how the human body was like a puzzle, each piece vital and connected. Melody, home from school, sat with her books scattered over the table. Mom, she asked, not looking up from her math homework, why do we have two lungs but only one heart? Susan wiped her hands on a towel and leaned over the table, her brow furrowing. Well, think about how much work the heart has to do, she began. It's pumping blood through your whole body constantly. It's a muscle that never rests. The lung, on the other hand, are just as important, but they work as a pair. If one is damaged, the other can compensate, at least for a while. The heart doesn't have that ability. Melody looked up, awe and curiosity showing. How do you know all this? Susan smiled, brushing her hand across her daughter's forehead. I read, and I see it every day at work. The body's resilient. A few nights later, Eli woke with a start, trembling. He stumbled into his mother's room, his chest tight and his breathing shallow. Susan was awake in an instant, her instinct sharper than an alarm. She rushed to his side, kneeling beside him as he gasped. Easy, baby, she murmured, her voice soothing despite the rush of adrenaline she certainly felt. Breathe with me, in and out, nice and slow. Eli's breaths were shallow, panicked, but Susan stayed with him, rubbing his back, grounding him. It was a mild asthma attack, probably triggered by the air coming through the drafty window. She moved swiftly, retrieving the inhaler she kept on hand. Her hands were steady as she showed him how to use it, guiding his small fingers around the device. Just like we practiced, she said softly, you're going to be fine. Eli followed her lead, taking a slow, deep breath. Gradually, his breathing returned to normal, a tightness in his chest loosening as his mother held him close. Chapter 4, Section 9, Ohio, USA, 1931. I was speaking somewhat through Frank that day atop the hill. Frank's oratory, a genetic gift destined to be echoed in Fedor's later sermons. I found the irony of inspiring him too delightful. He was convinced he was speaking for God, pointing out all my deeds, all around him, really opening himself up to me in his high sanctimony, not because his sin made him vulnerable, no, just because I like to laugh. Good jokes are never benevolent, but let me be clear. I couldn't care less about these filthy animals he thinks I have led to secretly worship me. The opposite of love is indifference, but I do like beauty, melodrama, art, even though its pretenses can never be hidden from me behind some suspension of disbelief or artifice. It would be dull to construct an elaborate ruse on a city full of people over such a long period of time. Utterly boring. Why do I follow Frank, Fed, Paul, and Elijah then if I am uninterested? They are random swaths in a century which has been mine if any human-involved thing ever could be mine. They aren't boring, a little serious, but they all exist on a pole with their life force, and don't ever believe any lie that says I am the enemy of life. No, humans are too weak to fully grasp life. So I scorn them for that, not because I'm some kind of monster who drinks the blood of puppies, just because. You will see. I am not the agent of oblivion, the whisperer whispering it should never have been. I am not the sadist orchestrating elaborate tortures ongoing for eternity. How boring. The suffering of humans and animals doesn't affect me, but I don't savor it unless I see some drama to it, some comeuppance, especially for the falsely holy. God has tried to force these roles onto me because he has no comprehensible account for the nothingness, the void that wasn't before it was, and putatively will be, will not be after all this is gone. You see, it must go. It is going. That is not God's fault, but it's not being his fault kind of calls into question some fundamental axioms definitional to his name, no? God isn't God, strictly speaking, is the wrong name. He keeps it, though, and in his self-important folly and deception he is trapped, so he must lie further. I am the prince of lies? Hardly. I tell you truths you dislike. God must account for the lack of omnipotence that is nothingness and the suffering of nothingness. No, that's a paradox. Point two. So he explains it away by blaming me. It's a move so baldly fallacious that the best of men have seen through it, but they usually go one step too far and invalidate both him and I's existence. It's always confused to me as why, especially modern humans can only believe in a total God or nothing at all, with all the wishy-washy agnosticism or new agey garbage being to believe what a dribble of spit is to a goblet of wine. The ancients, some of whose hunting and gathering ways permit you to label them moronic, believed easily in lesser deities. Why won't you? too? Is that your culture? Is it that your cultural project is so tainted with that grandiose morality, with most atheism being the grandiose morality just without the God? I lied. I lied about lying earlier. I do savor the pain of these hypocrites and bring it on whenever I can. That's how I stumbled on Frank and settled on this one line to travel down and interfere with, subvert, taunt, tease, and toy with the Midwest of the USA in the middle of the 20th century. Go there, find a devout family that is talented enough, troubled enough to be a good test case, a family who might come over to my cause, which is a humble, twofold set of goals and intended patterns of action, that is to glorify the material in all its brazen fault and majesty, and expose the lifeless, cowardly, sanctimonious God has allowed and even inspired to help uphold his metaphysical frauds, to expose them as the true agents of nothingness, the true enemies of all that is, the cowards who want to go to sleep forever in their big dad's snuggly lap, the blissful half-nothingness at odds with the most profound ecstasies on offer.